content system, the start to finish scripting, filming, and editing made easy and efficient. That's going to be the common theme here because we're all busy. When I was getting both my bachelor's and master's in biomedical engineering simultaneously, I was in classes on average 8 to 10 hours daily with an additional 1 to 2 hours of labs. By the time I was done my assignments and studying for exams and then going to the gym and then eating some meals, I had maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes every day at maximum to post. And that goal has always been to maximize those small pockets to showcase that it really is plausible, whether you are working full time in corporate or in your industries, or let's say you're a full time entrepreneur, or let's say that you're a full time parent, you'll still have an opportunity to post content regularly. And I hopefully can prove it here. The goal is to get from the 7x7 or the other formats that are algorithmically proven, combine that with your creative vision. So together that is your idea generation, but the actual production of content then requires this system. Let's get into it. So you've seen this by now. I've been able to build 8 million followers across my platforms and some fun $1 million creator businesses. I've been invited to events and travel the world, but really my biggest win throughout this entire experience has been to post every single day for the last 5 years in the midst of business, in the midst of personal life, in the midst of exams. I've never failed to show up. And it's with this content system in mind. And that has allowed me to get views like this. And if you can think of your content creation as a long-term investment, the ability to show up regularly has to be on the forefront of your mind. This system will allow you to do that. These are all videos that have 10 million plus views in the last year alone. Individually, these would have changed my life, but collectively, that's how you build a brand, again, that has longevity. So I want to go over today the pre-production, and that's called scripting, or the production called filming, or the post-production called editing. So these three parts are going to actually be streamlined across. So you'll see how each step builds upon itself so we can really maximize our time. I'll show you an example, and I'll show you how repurposing then it becomes so much easier with this process. Why do most creators fail? Well, they fail to post consistently, especially when they're busy, because they either have one, no plan before filming, or they stay stuck in ideation. We all know when you have a ton of different ideas, but to actually capture that genius into content on a regular basis is really difficult, right? For example, if you are an expert in a particular field or industry and you're thinking, I need to build a personal brand, to actually deliver that into content is not easy. So that may be a problem. Or number three, you're wasting time starting from zero each time. Everyone knows as a creative that going from 0 to 1 is the most difficult part. So how can you actually reduce the initial friction? And number four, they may not have a system for editing. So let's go into pre-production, the scripting phase, and the goals that I have for it, and what I hope that you can really pull away from this initial scripting phase. First, I want you to create a clear direction, but I don't want you to overscript to the point of friction. So I either see one of two ways here. Either a person doesn't script at all, they go into their filming and it's a mess because they don't know how to capture the content, they don't know what setting that they should be in, and then it takes a while for them to execute. Or the opposite side, it's that they script every single word, and it takes so long to script the video that they never get into the creation of it. I want you to identify your mission. So there are 4 missions of content. Not every single piece of content is meant to go viral. There are content that's optimized for viewership. That's your track piece of content, but then you have to nurture your audience. Then you have to position yourself as someone with credibility. And then you have to actually then convert if you have an offer. Those are very advanced topics here, but what I want you to understand is that every piece of content should have an intention behind it, and you should outline that beforehand so that when you have the result of that video, you can then best match that data to understand how to make more informed decisions in the future. I want you to identify your hook, and this should be outlined directly because your hook is so important. Those first 3 seconds, your visual, your text, your audio, how are you actually mixing those to make an effective first 3 seconds, and your core story arc. You see here that I'm not ever saying you should write every single word of that script. I'm just telling you to have an overall script, an overall story arc, and definitely to outline your hook and your mission, and that will be enough. Then I want you to map out scenes and angles before you film so that when it comes to the actual production of that content in regards to specifically the filming, you know where to do it, how to do it, you know which angle to capture. You're going to prepare visual elements, that's B-roll, overlays, or outfits ahead of time, and you're going to keep the process flexible enough to stay consistent. Because the truth is, 80% of the time, 85% of the time, the process goes as planned. And then the other 15% of the time, I need to be flexible enough to make use of, let's say, a dynamic change that I was not necessarily expecting. And so this type of process enables that versus you over scripting or over analyzing from the beginning. So let's go into this. So, what are the 5 components to my pre production scripting phase? Well, number one, again, those 4 missions: attract, nurture, position, and convert. I need to declare that before that content is posted. This is, again, to give you some more data so that after that video's results has been completed, you can match it based on the mission and see if that video was actually successful. Again, this is a much more intense or much more advanced skill. So, it's okay that you don't necessarily get super heavy into the missions just yet. But your hooks, these should be detailed, right? I am saying you shouldn't detail word by word your script, but you should absolutely detail word for word your hooks, whether they be visual, verbal, text, or sound. Then you have your storytelling method. This is my story arc. You don't have to use it. There are many successful creators out there that have different storytelling methods. This is mine, and you're more than happy to utilize it. So this is called the problem, the promise, the credibility, delivery, and call to action. And that is the story arc that my videos follow normally. Then you have a shot list, right? So then this is what are you actually going to capture when you are filming? This is a mix of the talking head main angle and the B-roll that you're going to overlay on top. And then if it's a silent film content, obviously it's just B-roll and then maybe some sound that you want to have. Then you have your caption. Why do I write my caption before filming my videos? And actually, this is what Gary Vee featured me in his book for. And that was a really cool experience, but it was my copywriting skills in the caption. And I write my caption often beforehand because it gives me a really good understanding of the deliverable in a very concise way. So in other words, I can picture what the video is for, the outcome, the results, and for the audience member in a short, concise way, just so that I can stay focused when I am filming. And if there are, let's say, additional elements that I can on the spot think of, but then I may get carried away with, I know to go back to the caption and think, all right, is it in the actual main result of the video here? If it's not, then it's okay to not do it. Then again, I want to really highlight this point. We're not scripting word for word here. We are getting a plan. We're trying to garner some clear directions that when we do go film, it can be as efficient of a process as possible, but we're not stuck in here for longer than 30 minutes or 45 minutes, right? Then a big part of this pre-production phase is organizing your albums to match the script. So based on the script, I want you to title your media albums proactively. These are screenshots from my phone, literally, to show you exactly how I've done this. And this is how you can do it too. So if you look at my photo albums, there's an album of 7 contents that reads brand elevating moments. Then you have speaking on stage, traveling, younger me, student experiences, working at desk. And if you see here, the working at desk actually has the most media files in it. And then there's a second version of it as well. And the reason for that is working at my desk is my home base. Every creator should have a home base if you want to make this process efficient. It's a location that makes a lot of sense for your brand. So a lot of my brand is about productivity. It's about business. It's about studies. So of course, me working at my desk is going to be a huge constant for my videos. But why do I call it my home base? Because consistently I have that scene as a B-roll in my content. And it's so easy for me to film because I know exactly which angles to shoot it from. I know exactly what the lighting is supposed to look like. I know exactly how I'm supposed to be positioned so that there's enough text above my head. All of that becomes really efficient as a home base. So find a home base for yourself. It's a scene that is really common and makes sense for your brand. And it's a really good idea to have these B-roll already saved in your phone. So when you need it, you can pull from it. I have another album called Engineering. I have another album called Morning Routine, Nature, Behind the Scenes Projects, Workouts, Younger Me Workouts, Faith, Career, Mental Health. And that is how a lot of my photo album looks like currently. For you, there's not going to be any media content in them, except for that home base. I would just preemptively choose one and just film contents for it and then have it so that you can always pull from. But here, for you, most of these are going to look 0. But based on your script and based on all the different B-rolls that you need, you should title your media albums proactively and do this. I know it might take another 5 minutes here, but it'll be well worth it when we're looking at the feature steps. This third one's a bit more interesting because it's how, if I have a particular video that has a ton of media that I need to organize properly, I will base it on that video inherently itself. So for this, it's called Instagram Insider, and that's the video title. And then I have the entire script. This is read from down up. So if you read hook, problem, climax, my learnings, outro. So that entire story arc is being outlined in clips here, right? So I'm doing that because I know that there's going to be a ton of clips for that specific video. So ahead of time, I'm just preemptively creating those albums so that when I'm done filming, I can just immediately import it there. And again, this will make a lot of sense as we go into the remaining steps of the production process. Now let's go into the actual production. So this is the filming of the content and the goals that I have for you when you're ready to whip out your camera and go ahead and film your content. First, stick to your script and storyboard to reduce takes. If you find yourself constantly taking many hours to film your content and many takes, it's likely because your script or your storyboard wasn't strong enough to start. Or you're just going off course and you should stop doing that. And that takes some discipline in the beginning. Then you're going to capture both A-roll and reusable B-roll in one session. I'll explain. Use outfit and angle variation to multiply content output. This is a really big one, right? Think about it. So if you are, let's say, filming a piece of content and it's, again, my home base working on my desk, all I need to do is bring a jacket, right? Or a hat. And the moment I put that on, it looks like I'm in a completely different outfit and it differentiates those clips. Or if I go ahead and film it from a slightly different angle, or if I film it with slightly different lighting, now those content, although filmed on the same day, when I am repurposing it in the future, will look different. And so it's important for you to look at how do you maximize that one sitting when you're filming that piece of content. If I'm going and making coffee, right? Same idea. Maybe adding a hat or maybe adding an accessory or filming from a slightly different angle. Although filmed literally 2 minutes apart from each other, in the future when you repurpose it, it looks different. It gives you more variety. You're going to keep your energy focused by batching by location or scene. You're going to label and store footage immediately after filming. Great. I want to talk about the setup that I use. So again, I told you about my phone and I'm going to go first over the physical setup and then my digital setup. And then I'll literally give you each of the products that I currently use. I know that's often a question that I get. So first, in terms of what I use to film, I use my phone. And if you think your phone's not good enough, I was literally using a shattered iPhone 12 for my first 3 years to creating content. That's how I built my first 1 million followers, right? It's more than okay to use. Your phone is the quickest to use, and you don't have to worry about adjusting your settings. Usually, the phone is the best. Then you go into having a tripod. This is one that's stable and leveled, preferably one that you can adjust the height for just so that you can maximize the various angles. Now, this is a little bit more advanced. You don't need this right out of the gate, but a lavalier mic or a device mic is fine too, but then you need a quiet surrounding. With the lavalier mic, those are the ones that plug into your phone. I have one right here called the DJI mic, and basically what it looks like is this. You will plug this into the bottom of your phone. That's your receiver. So if I was to do this for you in real time, I just plug this in here and then I pull out one of the mics. And here it becomes a much more crystal clear, but I don't necessarily need a quiet surrounding and it can do a good job of removing the noise. So that is a lavalier mic. And I encourage you, if you are serious about creating content and you're a little bit more advanced, you want to invest into an equipment, that's one that you can have as well. Then a light source. So I currently have a light that's called the Elgato desk light, or you can have a ring light that can travel with you, or now they have these snap-on lights that you can just put on top of your phone. And a big one is to check your frame before filming. And one thing to always keep in mind is to have sufficient headspace. If you look at common content threads, you will find that everyone puts their text in clear to read places. So usually people aren't putting text in really busy spots. It's either lower, where it's on top of their clothing, or above their head. I like to put it above my head, so I always film with a slight angle up. So if I'm doing this, I can show you, I film slightly up like this. And the reason why I'm doing that, I'm being a bit more exaggerative. Here, I would be like probably like right here. But that gives me enough angle above my head so that I can write text on it and it won't impact it. And if I don't need that space above, I can always zoom into it in post. And a big thing to note is that if you can use the back camera, obviously the higher quality you'll have. Great. Now my digital setup, right? So I have my script on my device, whether that's my second phone now, or whether that's my iPad, or whether that was on a piece of paper, but I'll have my script. And then I'm highlighting sections as I film each part, right? Because especially when you're batching a lot of content together, it's really easy to forget a piece of content. And then when you go to the editing phase, it just bothers you so much because now you have to get changed and put on that same outfit. It's just a pain. Just keep it organized by highlighting each section as you film. And then this one's a big one, but I had to include it because it's impacted my filming more times than I like to admit. Always have your notifications off and use do not disturb, because if you're filming and you get a notification that ends your filming session, you will be annoyed. So just make sure that you have that. But that's my physical setup and my digital setup. And these are the actual equipment that I use today. And you can literally take a screenshot of it now. You can use the same ones if you'd like. You don't need to, but I know that this is a common question. So again, I use my iPhone 15. I'm currently using right here the Elgato Wave mic. This is literally right in front of you. It's what I'm using to capture the sound quality. And then if I'm filming on, let's say, that receiver that you saw earlier, this is going to be the DJI Mic 2. Then this is my tripod that I use, the KNF Concept tripod. Then the Elgato key light, and in terms of the script, usually it's on Notion. If I was to give you an order of what to invest into first, obviously you need whatever you're going to film on. Again, I'd rather you look at using your phone currently. Then I would look into, okay, probably going to need a tripod and a light. Then you're looking at a mic, and that I believe is the best process. You don't need even Notion. Sometimes I use Apple Notes. You don't need anything fancy here. The idea is you just need the minimal setup, and it's enough. To be honest, like a majority of my content was filmed with just this next to a window, and that's enough when you're first starting. Don't overcomplicate it. And once you get better at it, you start to recognize, wow, this piece of equipment would really help me elevate my production, then great. Then you can invest into it at that point. Here are some really powerful tips, and I'm calling them pro tips when you're filming. I have a 3-take rule. I get 3 tries per line or section, and if I don't like it, I move on and come back later. If you've ever been in the process where you do one of these, so in today, in today, in today's video, and that becomes so annoying and frustrating. And there's literally times that I will completely quit filming because I'm so angry. And in order for me to avoid that, I have a 3-take rule. I literally do it right now. So if I've messed up in this experience, I will literally try 3 times. And if I mess up again, I would just move on and come back to it later. Usually though, even if I feel that I messed up and then we stitch the video together, it's like 98% fine. I'm just in my own head. This 3-take rule allows me to always avoid those moments in which you're constantly hesitating, and you can set a standard that's a little bit easier for you to follow. So it's like, all right, cool, I'm on try 1, I'm on try 2, I'm on try 3. Cool. If I got it, great. If I didn't, let's move on. Then outfit variations. Again, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but bring a hat, a hoodie, or a jacket, something easy to slip on, because if you change mid-shoot, you get visual variety across your content, and it's really powerful when you repurpose your content. Then you have angle swaps. So I always do main shot, side shot, and then a zoomed shot, just so that I can have a same location with different framing and get more repurposed content in the future that, again, feels that have more variety, right? That feels different. And then film in segments. I had seen one of the creators I worked with directly. I went to go with her to edit her video, and she showed me the clip, her raw file. It was like 28 minutes long. And there's another one that was 43 minutes long. Now, granted, she was a DIY creator that was documenting the process of her building something, which is great and all, but in no world is she going to be able to go back and go watch 28 minutes of content to figure out exactly which 0.3 seconds or 0.8 seconds she needs, or 3 seconds of clip that she needs for her video. So then I got her in this process of only documenting for 10, 30 seconds at a time. And maybe it's like 3 minutes at a time, but it's so important because then when you go to then edit the video, it's so much easier, right? You know exactly which clips and you can favorite them as you go. You can direct them straight into your album. So that was a complete game changer for her as well. This makes it easier to edit, label, and reuse content in the future. Great. Now let's go into the editing process, the post-production. I use CapCut. Edits had recently come out, and those are the two apps that I use. Here are the goals. First, follow your original plan. No over-editing. This was my worst nightmare. When I first started, because I was so new to editing, every single time I would look at a different feature, I'm like, should I try this? Should I try this? And it would take me forever because I would over-edit. And at the end of the day, that little edit that's taking me 2 hours is not going to change the result of that video enough for me to care, right? You have to get in that process of following your original plan. Stay organized and consistent in your edit flow. So that really does mean when you are in the process of editing, it's going to be messy at times and you're going to be tempted to take shortcuts, right? So this is a little bit more of an advanced, but if you have different, let's say timelines, or let's say you have multiple B-rolls that are being attached at once, you're going to be tempted to do it the messy way first because it just saves you time. But just be careful, right? Because when you're adding different edits on top of each other, again, a bit more of an advanced skill, you want to be sure that the initial foundations are strong and organized well. So when you build on top of it, it's not a huge mess. Save time while still making the video engaging. Build a content library that's repurpose ready. Great, let's go into it. So here's literally the 5-step method that I use. Number 1, follow the script structure. Open your original script and drag and drop clips into CapCut in that exact order or whatever editing app that you use, right? So the reason why you're doing that story arc, the reason why you have the hook already outlined prior, and the reason why you have those albums labeled that way is for this exact process. I edit my videos taking like 15, 20 minutes at most because all I'm doing is literally going into my script, looking at it, all right, cool, this is where the media albums are, and I'm just importing them in that order. Then you're going to trim each section. I would clean up your A-roll first. You can cut, these are just talking head camera, by the way, speak to camera ones. And this is the time in which what I just did right there, which was to hesitate or to repeat. Editors, let's keep that in there to show exactly what I meant. But those are the parts in which you would remove right out of the gate. You want to clean that up and you want to use the most impactful segment of your B-roll. So a really good example of this is when I'm filming content, I always try to include the dynamic movement first. So if I am filming myself walking, I will film my content like this. I have my phone next to me, and then I swing up like that, right? I swing up, and then I'm walking, and then I might look at the camera, smile, and look down. I am not using the part of the clip where I'm just walking. It's not dynamic enough. I'll use the part in which I'm swinging up, right? I'm going like this, and there's a swing effect that happens on camera. So if I'm only keeping 1 to 3 seconds of it, I might as well use that swing component and not necessarily the part in which it's stagnant, right? To add more visual, engaging elements to the video. Number 3, then you're going to add sound, right? This is where you can add your sound effects or your audio. You can sync trending audios if it's part of the format, or use subtle sound effects for transitions, clicks, swooshes. Again, do this number 3. Do not put this in beforehand because you're likely going to have to reorganize that if you do. Now, number 4, this is where you can add captions. Please just use the editing app auto caption mode. I used to sit there 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even 3 years ago. They didn't have auto captions on these editing apps on your phone. Now they do. Use it because it's so much easier. Click the auto caption, then you can group them all together and then actually edit the size of them all together. You can add effects to them all together. And then it's up to you to go review and change the words if you need to, right? Sometimes you want to put bigger emphasis on certain text, and that means that you would delete it off the auto caption and then make your own manual texting and then manage the time slots that it fits appropriately. All that great stuff is fine. But like 98% of my text on screen is going to be auto captions, and it saves you so much time. But it is important to review because it might be 85% accurate. So those 15% of the words you're going to have to change. And that's what I meant earlier in terms of when I said match timing with speech emphasis for clarity and retention. So if I say, this is how you post consistently for the next month, right? If that was my video, consistently is the big word. So if I want to emphasize that, I'm going to have to delete the word consistently out of the auto caption. And then on screen, I would have to manually put the word consistency in big letters, maybe a different font change, and match the timing. Again, a little bit more advanced. You don't need to do that, but this is just to show that when you use auto captions, of course, if you're going to manually add text, that's going to have to be separate. Number 5, save and archive your content for reuse or repurposing in the future. So you can export the final cut in 1080p or 4K. I do it usually in 1080p because it doesn't make that much of a difference and also saves you a ton of storage. And then you're going to save to another folder called Finals. Now, this is a place in which if you are low on storage, a $20 extra hard drive will be your best friend. That's what I used in my first 2-3 years. And when I was doing that, I would have a folder titled in there called Finals, but I would also have folders in there that was all based on the B-roll that I had organized earlier. So I'm basically importing everything in there. And the only thing that I would really keep on my phone are the home-based content so that I can pull from it easier. Great. Now, with that being said, I just walked you through my scripting, my filming, and my editing process. I showed you my setup, and I want to show you now a finished example of what this looks like. First, I'm going to show you the example video that I'll be walking you through. Then I'll go into the script, then I'll go into how I filmed it, and then how I organized the files, and then the result of that video. Let's watch.
Social media is the most toxic thing ever. It's all about vanity, showing off, and trying to impress people you don't even know. Well, at least that's what I used to think. I went from posting once a year to not missing a single post in 5 years. And here's what I've learned. Social media is a decision. You can use it for ego or you can use it to help. I've spent years helping people for free. Thousands of calls, tens of thousands of DMs, because I want to help creators like you figure it out. And to be honest, the results are addicting. So I'm hosting a week of free creator classes starting this upcoming Monday, March 3rd. This is everything you need to know about growing and monetizing on Instagram. Comment growth, and I will personally send you an invite.
Now let's walk through this entire process. What is the mission? For me here, it's to convert for our free workshop classes called Instagram Insider. So I was literally using the Creator College team to provide as much value as possible to my audience, again, completely for free. But I needed those people to actually sign up for that event. And that's going to require effort on their end. Even if it's free, they're going to have to come out of the app, then sign up, put their emails in, and then actually register, right? So I needed to make content that's predicated towards this specific mission. Then my hook, right? I need to outline this in detail. What's my visual hook? Well, I'm going to be pouring a drink. Then I'll be using a spoon for a microphone. Then my verbal hook is going to be a contradictory hook. Obviously, as a creator, my audience is going to be like, wait, what? You're saying social media is the most toxic thing ever? It's there to give a quick reframe in the brain of what's going on. And then you have the storytelling framework that I've gone over. So my problem I initially highlight is that often social media is believed to be only for vanity, showing off and pricing people you don't even know. I know that that's often what people think about when they're about to start creating content, right? And my promise is that social media is actually a decision. Yes, you in fact can use it for ego or you can use it to help. My credibility is that I've been helping for free in my DMs and calls for the last 5 years while posting every single day. My delivery is that I want to help more creators figure this out because it's changed my life helping people for free. And therefore, this is what I'm doing. And my call to action then is comment grow for a personal invite into that free webinar week. Great. Then I go into my shot list, right? So I have a main angle that's used for my intro and conclusion. I like to do this sometimes because it just makes the video feel fully packaged. If I start at my main camera angle and end at the main camera angle, it gives a really good, in my opinion, look to the video. And then I have a side desk angle where I'm going to be highlighting the problem. It's actually in this office, so I literally looked there to the left. And then the top angle, it's actually, I put my phone right above that shelf. And that's for my climax. Then I do a desk angle where I'm introducing what I've learned, and then the B-roll that I need, right? This is important. Before I go film, I start to recognize, okay, I'm going to need screen recording for my profile. I'm going to need a photo or a video of me helping creators in calls and helping creators in DMs. And I need the posters that we're making for the Instagram Insider. So when I go and talk about that call to action, I can populate it onto screen. Then I write a caption here. So I write comment growth, and I personally invite you to my free Instagram Insider week. These are the things that they're going to get out of it. So I need to kind of hint at some of these things throughout the video. Great. So that is the phase 1 pre-production and scripting. Now, when I go into production, basically all I had done before filming was provide the media albums ahead of time. And so when I went then to film, I could immediately import them and look at the media contents inside of each. There's 2 takes here, 4, 5, 2, 3. Why? Especially this one, I thought that was a really cool B-roll, and I knew that I could, in that moment, just film it from a slightly different angle, and I could show myself setting up my camera, and that alone would be really good repurposed content in the future. So that's why it has more. Same idea here at 5. So I shot it from that top angle. While I was there, I was like, oh wait, this looks pretty cool. I'm going to just get some more content here just so in the future I can repurpose it. Hopefully that is making sense. So all I'm doing here is in order as I film that, my hook, my problem, my climax, my learnings, my outro, all of that is organized so that when I go to the editing side, it's just plug and play. So all I'm doing when I go to my CapCut app, I'm just going through that album one at a time and importing it based on the script. I want to show you the results here, right? And it's really, 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 really cool. So the results inherently alone, if I was to look at the ManyChat flow for this, if you don't know what ManyChat is, that's okay. It's the third-party app. So you know all those creators that say comment X and you'll receive Y. Those are DM automations, and they're incredible because you can't obviously respond to every single DM, but it gives you a more personal way of inviting someone into a different, let's say, link, or let's say a different platform altogether, or just giving them more value. So for me, I'm using that video saying comment growth, and that would immediately trigger DM automation in their inbox that reads, hey, I'm so excited you're interested in making better content and finally monetizing. From March 3rd to 8th, I'm hosting a free Instagram Insider Week, and I'd love for you to join. It's all online. Details soon. Can't wait to talk to you soon. Right? They click tell me more, and it'll help them register. There were 7,000 people that registered. Now, if you don't know ManyChat, and if you don't have experience with this, you might think that's not too big of a number, but 7,000 people off a funnel is incredibly impressive. And that's because that content worked really well. And that mission was extremely successful. Not only that, in our very first weekend, March 9th to March 12th, in about 3 days, we made $129,000 because what we had done was use the Instagram Insider Week, provide a ton of value for like the first 4 days completely for free. On the 5th day, again, another lesson, but at the end, we said Creator College is now launching. We gave them an early invite offer, and we did over $100,000 in 3 days. That's unheard of, or gross volume, $136,000. And that's because of that scripting frame, with that production process. And that video, guess what? It was told from the team to make the same day of. So they told me, hey, Jim, we need this content out. Can you get it out? I was like, sure, I'll do it. It took me like 35 minutes, 40 minutes to put that video together. And in 40 minutes after, it made us $136,000. It's very impressive, right? That's the idea of making a very efficient process for yourself when it comes to content creation. Now, I want to even go, I'm not done yet, right? I want to give you as much value in this as possible. I want to show you where this becomes really magical. And I want you to, as I'm playing both videos, think about the common threads between the two. What are the similarities here? And it's going to open your eyes to how you will create content efficiently in the future. Video number play the second video. Again, think to yourself before I tell you the answers, what is similar about them? Likely be saying, oh, June, the audio is the same. Or you may say something along the lines of, oh, the both of them are motivating, or they're both telling your story. I will tell you that they're the exact same video. In regards to their formats, there's not a single thing that's different. In fact, the text placement, the text duration, the ratio between the text versus the B-roll behind it, all of them are the same. In this video, in context, I had to post after my filming production for Creator College in Austin. So I got up about 3 a.m. I had to go get to the actual production site around like 4:30 a.m. We then filmed the entire day. So while I was there, we had about a full from 4:30 all the way till about 3 p.m. Then I had to go get a flight. So I got picked up immediately after my final production segment. I did that, went straight to the car, immediately went to the airport, passed out in the car, then got to the flight, and then didn't get home till like 10 p.m. And I had to post a video, right? I wasn't missing a day. In the 10-minute Uber ride from my airport to my apartment, I made this video and put it together and posted in time, right? Before I even got to my apartment room. And it's to show you when repurposing is done and you actually place those contents in those folders and you actually go about this process, the ability to create efficient and effective content is through the roof. So when I go into the actual edit, this is what my screen looks like. This is an iPad screenshot, but for your phone, it'll look the same. So what I did was I downloaded that original video, right, from the Instagram app. Then when I did it, I started to extract the audio, and that's where you have this separate timeline here. And then I split. All I did was literally go into each time the B-roll changed, and I'm just hitting the button on the bottom here that's red split, right? I'm cutting it at each segment. Then all I did was click this button called replace here, and I'm just replacing it with the appropriate B-roll that I've already organized in my photo album. So then at that point, all I'm doing is literally just replacing the clips based on B-roll that fits for this new messaging that's promoting creative colleges we build in public. And then I added the text, made sure that the ratios were the same, and I exported the new video. That quickly, I had a really good video, a high quality video done in a fraction of the time. So that's where it becomes really powerful to actually do the content in an organized, streamlined approach, because the impact that it will have, not only in the immediate moment, but the ability to be efficient in the future is incredible, like you see here. So all of these are slightly repurposed content or even fully reposted. So it took me maybe at sub 20 minutes, 30 minutes each time. You're seeing views at 20 million plus, 32.8 million, 3.6, 4.4 million. Then you have it happening again. It's the idea that when you have content ready to repurpose, and you can also have a really good system of creating content, it can still get a ton of views. It can still get a lot of engagement. It can still be done through your creative vision and the other formats that have algorithmically been favorable. You combine that all in a super efficient way. No matter how busy you are, you can still show up every single day for your